What's up, everybody? It is Monday, and it's time for some Master Motivation. My name is Jason Flame, and I am joined today by our guest, Mr. David Chacon. How are you, sir?
I am doing awesome, sir. How are you?
Dude, super excited. This is not our first rodeo. We have had an interview before. We did that one for the Martial Arts Industry Association. And I really enjoyed hearing so much then and knowing what I know about you that I wanted to bring you on this show. Just to remind everybody, the reason that I have decided to do these videos is I sat down for my 2021 goals and I said to myself, what do I want to accomplish this year? And one thing that just kind of kept running through my head is, I've had a lot of people that have inspired me and motivated me and helped teach me. And I wanted to highlight those people because, it's one thing to sit and talk about yourself, but it's another thing to let other people talk about themselves and highlight other people. So you were one of the people that came up at the top of the list that I wanted to introduce to our audience. So thanks for choosing to do the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you for having me on.
So I remember the first time that I met you. It was in a Maya Elite seminar. It was actually kind of an intro to Maya Elite, and I had probably seen you around, right? But Mr. Metzger, Mr. Silverman asked for someone to give a testimonial, and you gave the most amazing testimonial that I was so inspired listening to you then, having been a consultant for a number of years and listening to you talk. I was just like, this guy is gonna be something big, right? Because at the time you were just coming off a really difficult time in your business and lots of other stuff going on, and then you just kind of exploded. So that's my very first memory of you. And every time I see you, every time I hear from you, I just, I get goosebumps when you talk. So I want to start from the very beginning, though. I want to let everybody know all about, how you grew up, where you grew up, some struggles that you had as a young child, and we'll just kind of go to the top from there. So tell us where you grew up. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, family, parents, background.
Absolutely. So I was born in the city of Chicago, and probably at about a year and a half years old, moved to Texas. And so my parents were young parents. My dad, when I was born, was 17. My mom was 19 when I was born. And so, being raised by teenage parents doing the absolute best that they can. I first off want to give 100% credit because I'm happy to open and divulge anything. I'm an open book, and I did go through some pretty crazy times growing up. But at
Uh oh. I think we're losing a little bit of your audio. Can you hear me, sir? I apologize, guys. Those of you that are hanging out watching, looks like we have internet connection issue, and so I'm just trying to get back in touch with Mr. Chacon, see if we can't get him to log back on. Sir, if you can hear me, if you could just maybe reset. There you go. Looks like he's going to reset. So we'll bring him back. He's got a great story, guys. Hang tight with us. And by the way, if you have any questions for Mr. Chacon, please go ahead and put those in the comments, and we'll get him to answer some questions for you guys. But he'll be right back. Thank you guys for joining us for Master Motivation, and stand by. There we are. We lost you for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Hey, so we were just getting started talking about your childhood, and it kind of we heard 19-year-old, 17-year-old parents, and then it whoop, we just
Okay,
lost you. So pick it right back up from there. And thank you guys
absolutely.
for sticking with us.
Yeah, thank you guys, and sorry about that. So yeah, teenage parents, they did the absolute best that they could, and the older I get, and having kids, like I genuinely recognize that. But there was a season of my life where I didn't really realize what it took, and I was kind of upset and discouraged about how things went throughout my life. But now that I recognize that my parents' roof is my ground floor, and I get to pick up from where they did the absolute best that they could with me, and hand that same concept to my kids. And one day they're going to understand, that I might not have been the best, but I did the best that I could, and that my roof will be their ground floor. So my parents got divorced, unfortunately, when I want to say 6 years old. I had a baby sister that was 1 year old, and I lived with my mom during that time. And my mom did the best that she could. Unfortunately, we needed government assistance, and we moved from house to house to house, and I bounced from school to school to school. And those come with some perks, but they also come with some mental trauma, that can take place down the road. And there was a series of events that happened when I was 11 years old that were pretty shocking. And it was from one day to the next that I found myself reaching out to my father so that he could come and pick up my sister and I. And my mom had gone out of the country, and we moved in with my dad at that time. And there was a big custody battle that took place for many years. And at that time, in the state of Texas, I was 12 years old. I was able to decide who I wanted to live with, but that didn't come without having to go through, talk to therapists and psychologists to make sure that I wasn't jacked up, which I am a little bit jacked up, but they didn't catch it. They didn't catch it. I flew under the radar. And so I was able to make the decision for my sister and I to move in with my dad. And he ended up winning that custody battle. I can tell you that after many, many, many years and a long story, I have a phenomenal relationship with my mother today, and a baby sister that I have on that side of the family. But that didn't come without a lot of craziness over the years.
Well, let's dive a little bit more into that if you don't mind. But growing up and having challenges of your own has made you a stronger person, has given you a whole different perspective now as you are a father. Again, guys, if you're watching, any questions, any comments, please drop those and let us know that you're watching. But so the crazy custody battle, like how did that motivate you? Because the theme is inspiration and motivation. You're a very successful business owner now, and you've had some ups and downs, but we were talking before the show, things are going great now. But how did that motivate you? How did that change your mind at 12 years old?
You know what? At 12 years old, when I moved with my dad, he was extremely motivational. He was involved in an online business, and at that time, the internet was something that nobody really was involved with. It was at the internet boom where everyone was talking about this is going to be the big next wave. And I want to say it was probably around, oh goodness, I don't know. I was born in '83 and I was 12 years old, so whatever, 95 or something. So
Right.
and at that time, I realized that I wanted to be rich. That's what as a kid, I want to be rich. I want to be wealthy because I was raised without being able to have a lot of the things that I saw a lot of people have. And so I had a driving motivation to want to be wealthy. And at 12 years old, I made my decision that I was not going to go to college, that I was going to graduate high school early, that I was going to start a business when I was 16 years old, and that I was going to retire by the age of 18. Well, I did all of those things except retire at 18, but in my head, I believed. And the power of belief is a tremendously, incredibly powerful thing. And that led me from 12 years old to listen to cassette tapes on a daily basis that were motivational, reading books. My dad invested in me and sent me to motivational seminars all around the country that were entrepreneurial based, but more importantly, based on building who you are on the inside, building your mind. And so while at 12 years old, I was only able to digest as much as I could, I was hungry. And there was nothing that was going to stop me because I didn't want to have the financial struggles that I endured growing up. Because I was so independent at that age, I was able to see maybe things that kids at 12 years old don't get to see, or 11, 10, 9, 8, and 7 years old. And I realized this is not the lifestyle that I want to live for the rest of my life. I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to be my own boss as young as I can, and I'm going to invest in mentorship until the day that I die, because whoever it was that was speaking into my ears through the cassette tapes, the books, and the seminars, those people kept me alive. They taught me how to dream build. They taught me that no matter how big, or I'm sorry, if the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. That was something that was ingrained in my head when I was 12 years old. And that was the driving motivation behind everything. Was the worst thing that could have happened when I was 11 years old. You know what I always say this: what the devil intended for bad, God will make good. And that was one of the things that no 11-year-old should experience in their life. But my God, did that light a fire under this kid that would eventually be able, and I just give God the glory, that would impact thousands and thousands of people's lives, not only here in my hometown, but globally, on a mission to just impact the way that I was impacted as a kid.
Yeah, no, and this is, I'm sure that those of you that are listening are feeling that passion, feeling that energy, and this is just one of the reasons that I'm so excited to have you to speak out to everybody. 11, 12 years old, you're already kind of getting in this different mental space than the average. I mean, look at 11 and 12-year-olds now for the most part. I mean, that's just not something that's very common. What do you remember? Who are some of the people that you listened to then, or maybe we could even jump ahead a little bit now. Who are some of the people that you really listen to now and read?
Well, I want to answer that first question. It was actually the Amway business that my dad was involved in. I'm not involved in that business, and I'm not here pitching Amway. But at that time, in the mid '90s, that was a pretty big deal. And they have an infrastructure of motivation and successful people that I will forever be changed because of that organization. That organization lit something in my dad's eyes, who was a teenage father, growing up, had a couple kids, a divorce, and all that good stuff, to be able to lead myself and my sister. The Amway business had everything that I just told you about. That was structured by the Amway business. And so those people in that organization at that time changed and transformed my life.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And Amway was kind of the gateway to a lot of things that are going on. A lot of different that business model. John Torres says this man is the real MVP. Always drops some fire and heat with his motivation. Yes, he
Thank you,
does.
John. Much love, brother, to you and your wife and your kids, man.
So let's get back to 11, 12 years old. You start going into middle school, high school. Talk to me about high school years. What was how had life changed for the better or for the worse, and where do we go from there?
Sure. So in junior high, I went to two sixth grades. In sixth grade, I was with my mom, and then went with my dad to finish off sixth grade. And then at that time, we were forced to move up to Chicago. There was a lot of family drama and trauma that was taking place, and so my dad made the decision from one day to the next, we were going to move up to Chicago and live with my grandparents and get a new start on life. And so I went to a public school in Chicago for seventh and eighth grade. And while it wasn't like the south side of Chicago, it was still pretty dangerous as far as at that time and what the streets looked like. And so coming from a Texas boy to a city, Chicago's public school, was intimidating. It was scary. Thank God I had been training in martial arts since I was little. Obviously, with the divorce and the separation, I switch schools and stuff, and there was times where I wasn't able to train. But I was definitely confident I could protect myself. But going to that school, from day one, I was already 6 foot tall. I haven't grown since then. I don't know what the heck happened, but I was 6 foot tall in seventh grade, and I was fairly good looking, kind of like yourself. And, I lost that gene a while back, but anyways, it worked out for me with the ladies, but all the guys hated me. And unfortunately there was some gang members and older brothers and stuff like that outside of junior high. And all of those guys just wanted me dead pretty much. And so I had butterflies in my stomach every single day going to junior high, having to take different routes to school, cause I would walk to school. And, it was a very, very challenging time, but I never experienced bullying at a higher level. Little did I know, again, something that was set up for my destruction. would eventually turn into something that would change in my hometown community thousands and thousands of kids' lives with not just some random anti-bullying messages, but I literally built our school with a genuine passion to see lives transformed. And one of those outlets was through helping kids get through and go through bullying situations on many different levels. And so, had I not experienced that myself and seen my life flash before my eyes several times, I wouldn't be able to talk to you with the passion and belief. There's that word again, belief in what I'm telling you. And people just understand when I'm talking about it, that my words are not empty. They're filled with a belief because I have experienced it. And there's nobody that can take that away from me. And it was with that message that I was able to transform lives. And that's just junior high. I know you asked me about high school, but I want to let you get to the next question if you need to.
No, no. So that's great. So it's something that I think a lot of us martial artists, and a lot of my guests will be martial artists because I've done martial arts like you almost my entire life, and it's what consumes me and fuels me, and it's my passion. But you had this experience in junior high school, and even all those experiences at a younger age that now give you once again perspective that is very real. And you can hear it. When someone is talking and whether they believe in what they're saying or if they're just regurgitating information that's been fed to them. So you have this, experience throughout junior high that eventually later will help you speak to others in similar situations. Talk to us a little bit about some of your struggles or your strengths or success, getting into high school and moving on from high school.
Sure. I had the vision from 12 years old that I was going to open my own sector of the Amway business when I was 16. At the end of the day, it's just a young kid with an entrepreneurial mindset, and I'm being led by all of these guys with tremendous knowledge when it comes to self-development, motivation, and building a business through all the seminars that I went to. So, but I was still a kid. I was still a kid, and I had a lot of freedom. And so, because of the neighborhood, long story short, the main dude in junior high that ran that little group ended up coming to my dojo, not knowing that I was there, to sign up for classes. And I had been telling my sensei, these guys are messing with me, they're threatening me, they want to beat me up, they said they're going to kill me. And he would tell me, you fight outside of the dojo and you can't train here. It was very old school. We got hit with freaking bamboo sticks and all kinds of crazy stuff. I was 12, but I was 6 foot tall, so they put me in the 18 and over class. So they treated me like an adult. But at the end of the day, that kid came in and I told him, Sensei, this is the guy I've been telling you about, and he wants to fight me after class. And my sensei said, I'm going to close the door, and what happens out on the mats, I know nothing about. He closed the door after class. I beat the crap out of that kid, and it was like a movie. In less than 30 to 60 seconds, I had my hand reach down to the ground to pick him up. And he said, man, you could have done this any single day and you didn't do it. And I said, man, I'm not like that, And the next day I wondered, either I'm going to die or these guys are going to be my best friends. And so they ended up being, I wouldn't call them best friends. They wanted me to be their best friend. They wanted me to join their gang. I wouldn't do it because I told them I had a entrepreneurial goal that I needed to do, and I couldn't do gang banging and open a business at the same time. They understood that. But I was actually in with the group. They no longer wanted me dead, but it was the fact that I would hang around those people that would end up getting me arrested very young for being at the wrong place at the wrong time. I looked a part of probably a thug, not probably. I was like a thug on the outside with the same mission and vision and entrepreneurial spirit on the inside. But unfortunately, the cops don't see that. They see what you're wearing and they see how you look. And that was my fault. But got into some trouble, before high school, and going and because of the side of Chicago, the city of Chicago, the high school I was supposed to go to, I probably would have died. I'm not joking. I probably would have died going there. A lot of my friends got in some really, really bad stuff going there. My dad saw that, so he moved us to a suburb of Chicago, and I went to the most preppy high school that you could possibly imagine. And I walked in there wearing Janko pants that were this big, wearing Lugz boots, a Cubs jersey, and a hairnet on my head with my hair slicked back, shaved sides. And I was like the sore thumb in the whole place. And that was my entry into high school.
So what was obviously the impression that you gave to everybody? How did that how did that change? How, I mean, well, it didn't change because people are just getting to know you, right?
Sure.
So this is the impression that you bring to this new school. And so what happens next? How do things kind of work from there? Because I know that there's a success story in the end where things turn around and change. But I
Sure.
mean, talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time, going from that to being in the right place at the right time. Go take the story from there. So you just coming into the high school looking like a thug, and people's impression of you is what?
Sure. So they were scared of me, that's what I wanted. That's what I was going after. I didn't know any different because I had just come from a place where I'd gone through all of that bullying and established myself and respect for myself. And I had gotten in quite a few fights too that earned some respect. That wasn't my fault, but again, just being in that atmosphere, that kind of stuff happened. That was throughout my junior high time. So going into high school, I didn't have that mentality shift. All I knew is that I think I was probably 14 at the time. I've got 2 more years before I got to open my business. I've got 2 more years before I got to throw a sweater around my neck, wear khakis and a collar shirt, cut my hair and look professional and run business meetings. So I was juicing it for all I could. I don't know why, but that was just what I wanted to do at that time. But it was not that long after, probably about a year into high school, that I made that full transition so that I could have people take me seriously, because I would end up wanting to, market and talk to some of my friends' parents. I wanted to market and talk to some of the deans, principals, and that. So I had it in here that I wanted to do that, but I also knew they wouldn't take me seriously if my external appearance didn't meet what was coming out of my mouth. And so I made that huge transition in high school. And at 16 years old, the day I turned 16, I ended up getting the business started.
And talk about that business. So what was it like starting a business at 16? What were some of the things that you learned very early on?
Well, my dad knew, and he would help me learn that if you couldn't communicate effectively with people, that you would not be able to get your message across, and you wouldn't be as successful as you could. He helped me understand that sales is bottom line. You need to know how to sell, and you need to know how to influence people. And so that was a lot of the books that were handed down were How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and all of those great books. And it was important that I learned, okay, how the heck am I going to do that? So my dad would put me in public speaking classes that scared the crap out of me. He had me taking senior classes when I was a freshman in public speaking. And this was just because I knew that I needed to do it in order to be successful. I was sold on the idea, but I was scared as all hell to do it. And like most people are with it, but that's what would eventually shape and prepare me to launch. And when I launched, I wasn't afraid to speak in front. I mean, you still get nervous, but I wasn't afraid to speak in front of a group of people. I had the confidence and the belief in what I was saying that I was talking to rooms that were filled with people 2, 3 times my age, attorneys, principals, all kinds of people to get involved in the business. And so the fact, and I mean, I learned a lot there. I learned so much there, but that was one of the main things, was being able to build the confidence with able to communicate, voice inflection, facial expressions, body language, and all tonality. I mean, that stuff was ingrained from a little kid, which would eventually help me tremendously later on.
And the once again, the key word is you keep mentioning it and saying it, belief, right? When you have belief in what you're doing, that confidence goes a long way. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. You truly believe what you have to offer. It makes it so much easier to communicate it, and it feels, like we said before, it feels real, and so people will buy based on that belief and that emotion that you create with them. And of course, going back, if you guys are just tuning in, we talked about having kind of a rough start in our childhood, a custody battle, kind of back and forth, fights and gang banging, and just not having the image, to now being a 16, 17-year-old, right in the middle of your teens, where most kids are just trying to kind of just get through high school, right? And just like, I get good grades, graduate, I'm going to go on to college. But you have this entrepreneurial mindset that you just want to grow a business. And of course, that all starts to take off. And then we start having some other challenges. So talk about from there, we're doing what we want to do, and then some things start to happen. Talk about that.
Sure. So I'm building the business, and then I realized, wait a minute, I still got to graduate. I wanted to graduate. I wasn't going to drop out of high school. I definitely knew I was going to graduate early. But hey, man, I still got to do my homework. And I'm building this business, but in order to build a business, you need money to build a business. You need money to travel. I didn't want to rely on my dad, and thank God he didn't make me rely on him to provide for all the travel now that I was eligible and able to work. And so in high school, I got on a work study program where I could get out early and started working. I was bagging groceries. I think I was making probably $5.15 an hour or something like that. And I'd spend my time doing that so that I could invest that money in the business, get the tapes that I needed, get all the books that I needed, travel when I needed to. And so that was an extreme challenge for me. And I ended up moving from that bagging groceries for $5.15 an hour to selling ad space in a newspaper. So here's the cool thing is that I had all of the gift of gab, the sales experience and stuff like that from little. So to go to that company. So I forget, I was probably 17 years old or something like that at the time. And I was making $15 to $17 an hour. Now, that was good money at that time. It was 3.5 times what I was making. And so that helped me to build the business even faster. But then what happened is that as like any kid, you want overnight success. And that business is not overnight success. You'll get successful, but it's just going to take time. I didn't have the patience for that. I wanted to be wealthy, and I wanted to be wealthy now. And so I saw a kid come into one of the basketball games at my high school. He was dressed to the nines. He was driving a Beamer. The system was booming, TVs and all that stuff. I'm like, what are you doing, man? He's got this suit on. He's like, you couldn't handle it. And I said, well, what are you doing? He's like, sales, man, sales, And it ended up being that he worked at a legal, like boiler room. I don't know if you've seen the movie Boiler Room, but
Oh yeah.
a legal boiler room setup. And I said, dude, get me an interview there, man. He's like, you can't handle it. And I begged him and begged him and begged him. And he eventually got me an interview. And the rest is history. I don't know if you want me to go into more detail, if you want to move on.
No, let's talk about that because Boiler Room is if anybody's watched that movie, right? I mean, not exactly the most legal, but I think this is going to be part of the story where people really understand that when you start making big money, we start having big problems too, right?
Yeah. Are you
So,
quoting Biggie Smalls or what are you? More money,
you
more
know,
problems.
so talk about that, right? So you get involved, you get the interview, you get the job, you start working in the industry, and talk about that.
Yeah. So I get in there and I see that all of the managers, vice president, and president are all wearing these nice GMT Master Rolexes. And I was like, man, how do I get one of those? And at that time I was 18 years old. And they laughed and chuckled, because you're around a whole bunch of pretty intense sales guys. And literally, you're on the phone selling. You're not allowed to close the deal unless you earn the spot as a closer. So whenever it's time, you cover the phone, you yell TO, which is turnover. The vice presidents come running out of their office, and whoever grabs your phone first, and if they get the close, they get the money. I make the money. And so it was a crazy atmosphere. And they laughed at me and said, ha, 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 be the top salesman of the year in the company and you'll get one. And I said, okay, all right. And that was my driving motivation. Now, again, I was just driven by money. That was all I was driven by, which, like you said, eventually, because that was the only motive, right? The love of money is the root of all evil. Money isn't evil. Money is necessary and it's important. But the love of money, and I created a love of money at young and started making a lot of money. Long story short is at 19 years old, I was the top man in the company. And 38 years old now, but I got the watch, man, and that was when I was 19. Almost 20 years ago.
And so you hit in your mind what was success because money, and I'm guessing kind of based on your earlier life where you struggled, you had some assistance, you didn't want to have that, so money became this filler of what tells us that we're successful. So we focus on that. We focus so much on that that we start losing our vision of what is truly makes us successful. And now being a father and someone that takes care of his family, we know that shift happens. So what made you realize, what made you finally understand that money was not going to solve everything for you, and it wasn't the true success that you were looking for?
Sure. Well, I didn't realize at that time, but now that I know without the shadow of a doubt that we are all born with gifts, we are all born with gifts, and then we are all born talented. And I believe 100% that our talent is there to sharpen our gifts. And that is something that we do for the rest of our life. Well, for what? For what? To make more money? That didn't make any sense. And now I understand that we have our talent to sharpen our gifts. First, you have to discover your gifts. The next, you've got to develop your gift. That's how you're sharpening that thing up. And then you've got to deploy. Well, deploy into what? And I didn't realize until 24 years old that my purpose was 100% to impact, encourage, and help people do that very same thing, to discover their gifts, to develop their gifts, to understand that their talent is there to sharpen their gifts and help them to focus on their purpose. My purpose was people, not money. And I didn't realize that at 19 years old. So you put a lot of money in a young kid's pocket that didn't come from a lot of money. I live in downtown Chicago, penthouse condo overlooking the sky, my own business downtown Chicago, fancy bling bling Hummer with the big sounds and the TVs like my buddy had, the big rims, the big tires, the fast motorcycles and all that crazy stuff led to the rock star lifestyle downtown. And I don't glorify it. I'm explaining it because it's real. The money, the women, the alcohol, the drugs, all of that crazy lifestyle that sucks people in. I still know people from back in that day, they haven't been able to get out of that. And it spun their life in a downward spiral. And it wasn't until I was 24 years old, and another story, I don't know if we have time, but, I had a personal encounter with God that changed my life. And it wasn't at that time. It was at that time that I recognized what my purpose was in life. And then it was a 180-degree turn for me, and everything again that was set up for bad, that would have spiraled me into a bad place, hurting a lot of people, when my very, very gift was to help and encourage and protect and motivate people. What was set up for bad was turned for good. And it was at 24 years old, my life took a 180-degree turn.
Well, so we got to talk about it. You got to share that experience that made you pivot from there. So talk about it and go from there.
Well, the power of mentorship, right? I haven't left that since I said that's been everything for me. You have me here because I was a motivation to you, but you being in a role of a consultant in the company that changed my life in November of 2016. I spoke with conviction and passion in 2017, and what you heard was the overflow of my heart. But it wasn't, that doesn't come. I had a reverence, even though I didn't know you, but I had a reverence and an appreciation for every one of you consultants, because before I was a success story, I thought all of you guys were full of crap. And then when I was a success story and realized, man, these guys are for real, you guys were my motivation, and you were one of those people. And so I'd stop and going in the opposite direction of your question, man. But I don't think I'm more of a motivation to you than you are to me. So I just want to thank you for your sacrifice and what you've done too, because without people like you, there would be no people like me,
Well, and we're throwing quotes and we're talking about sharpening, something that I believe strongly in is that iron sharpens iron, right? And people like you and people like me, we understand each other on this level, and we only help raise each other. And I think we can both agree that that's what we want. That's what I want this video to do for anybody that's watching, whether it's now, you're watching live, you're going to watch it later on our YouTube channel, even if you catch just a minute of it. If we can inspire and motivate anybody just to take the next step, to believe in themselves, to work hard towards their goals, that's the whole premise and purpose of this video. So back to you again. Tell me about that pivotal moment that that just everything changed in your mind.
Sure. So I gotten, and again, I gotten really burned in business. I was young and I had all that money. I started investing really heavy in real estate, and I trusted a lot of people that had a good gift of gab, and they were reputable people, attorneys, real estate business owners, multi-million-dollar investors. And I had a phenomenal credit score, and I had a lot of money, and they were able to leverage that so that we could make even more money. But as the industry, the mortgage boom happened, when everything went up, they went from making hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of them, or millions, to multi-millions, hand over fist. greed would take place. And I wasn't strong enough here nor understanding. And I got burned really, really bad. I ended up losing everything that I had earned, the condo, the house, and everything. And I had to, I had to move into the basement of my dad's house. And with my girlfriend, who was not my wife at the time, but she was there for the whole ride. And part of that was a guy had reached out to me and said, "Hey, I heard you got some properties that are foreclosed now, and you need some help." And I thought he was a shark. And my immediate answer, I'm not a very vulgar person, but I said, "I know who the F you are and what the F you are here to do. And I don't effing trust you." Little did I know that I was talking to a man that was 38 years old, that had a successful marriage, that had amazing children, that had just graduated from Bible college, who was successful in real estate, who would eventually become not only a mentor, but a best friend, who was just at my house last night. But at that time, I realized when I got to know him, my God, I was raised in a broken home. My dad did remarry, and I got to see how that would go. But in those beginning years, here I get to learn from a man who was in a successful marriage, had successful children, had a successful business, had a faith that I always knew, like, hey, one day I'll get my life right with God, but until then, I'm going to do me. Little did I know that God loved me just like I was, and I just had a misunderstanding. And so he walked me through and helped me really understand my purpose and what God created me for and who God really is. And it was through that mentoring with him that I was like, man, you know what? If I was 12 years old and I looked up to these guys as mentors to help me become a business owner, and I did it, and then I had these mentors in that legal boiler room set up where they helped me, and boom, I was able to get there. And then I jumped into the real estate, and boom, I was able to do that. Like, here we go. What do you want? Well, I want a successful marriage. I want a successful family. I want a successful business. Let me find somebody that has it and see if they'll invest in me. And the guy, our families fell in love. I mean, at that time I wasn't married, but I would eventually get married very quickly to get stuff right in my relationship with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. But that was the turning point. And I laid everything down and I said, okay, now I understand what my purpose in life is. And that was the pursuit that started everything for me, and kind of help things come together.
Awesome. So awesome. So talk about, before we talk about your family a little bit more, let's talk about opening your school, starting your martial arts school. You actually use the word mentorship in the name of your company.
Institute
And
of Mentorship. Yes, sir.
right. So it's a very big part of what you do. But talk about getting that started, how things are going now, some of the things that you've learned along the way.
Sure. So when I had that 180-degree turn in my life, I probably didn't make the right decision by just completely turning away from the entrepreneurial mindset and understanding that money is important and stuff. I looked at all of that like it hurt me, and I stayed dormant and quiet for about a year and a half, where I could have been. I would never let somebody do that I was mentoring, but that was just what happened to me, and it took about a year and a half of not having anything. So at that time, when I was 24 years old, I had already built myself up again. I was living in $1 million investment home, big on a golf club. I was dating my girlfriend at the time, then got married and all that. But at the end of the day, I lost everything, because that was when the mortgage industry crashed. And so I lost the house. I lost all the investments again. Was completely on my face. I had just gotten married thinking everything was good because I had this new vision in life. Little did I know that within a few months, I was going to lose it all again. And so it was in that time where I started training in MMA. It was just an outlet for me to plug into. I had come up in different martial arts as a kid, and I was given the opportunity by my sensei to open up a school. He saw the drive, he saw the gift and talent that I had, and he knew that I could be successful. And so within 9 months of training there, I opened up my own school, and he was my partner. And we took the school. I mean, he lived about 2.5 hours away, so he would give some of the business strategy per se, and nothing compared to what we do now. At that time, I thought it was great, but he would give some of that knowledge, and I would be the one that ran the school live. And so we took the school from 0 students to almost 200 students from the end of 2009 to I think the middle of 2012. about 200 students, but we were running on a $79 a month program, cancel at any time. I think our biggest month that we had ever seen was about $13,000, which, our biggest goal was 20 grand. That was.
Sorry, lost you there for just a second. You back?
I can't see you,
There you
but
go.
can you see me?
I can. Yep.
Okay, so our
Yeah.
biggest goal was to hit 20 grand, which we
Right.
never did. At the end of the day, we had a big falling out that happened very quickly. And from one week to the next, there was no more school, but there was still 200 students that wanted me and wanted the coaching. And it was within 7 days that mind you, I already knew how to fall flat on my face and get back up. I'd been there, done that, and I had lost way more than that a couple of times. So within 7 days, we were up and running under Dominion MMA or Dominion Martial Arts. And we opened our doors probably with about 7,500 that first day as far as the gross that came into the company. And it was within a couple of weeks that about 90% of all the students were there, up and running. The other school was completely shut down. And that was, again, the beginning of a build that would eventually, by 2016, come crashing down again. But that's how we got started.
Right. Well, so yeah, I mean that kind of, and we're gonna probably jump ahead through a lot of stuff because we're seeing a trend now. Something that you have learned how to do is you have learned how to fail and come back. I mean, you've kind of mastered the comeback, right? So here you are, your school was rocking and it was doing great, and then everything kind of falls out, and you get to a point where you were ready to throw in the towel. You were ready to be done with the martial arts. I know you got involved in Maya, and Maya has done a tremendous job with so many of us who we think we're doing great in our schools until we really meet people that are really doing it and learning the business systems. And again, I said I don't want to make this about the business, but you hit kind of bottom again, and you were just ready to get out. So what was the mindset, the thoughts that were going through your head that said, okay, I've been here before,
Yeah.
I failed, I can do this again? What was it that really got you through? Because now obviously here we are, and the school is killing it and very successful again.
Sure. So, it's hard because the school my life is I don't know, a shadow of the school. Everything is connected in some way, shape, or form because I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't part of my purpose. So, I have to like tie it all together. But what happened is, I mean, even at our biggest month before we started Dominion at $13,000, like you got to remember, you're talking to a 19-year-old kid back in the day that made, a lot of money to the next phase and the next upcoming that made a lot of money. That wasn't enough money for that 12-year-old kid's dreams that started so many years before. So I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. It could have been 20 grand that the company was making, but after all expenses and everything, I'm not living anywhere remotely close to the dreams that I had set for my family, for myself. And I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. So from 2012, we had gotten back up to around the 13.5, region. But and on the outside, it looked great. Tons of students. The mentorship was ridiculously amazing. We're involved not only in schools, but I'm getting flown to different parts of the country, different parts of the world. We're rescuing orphans. We're rescuing widows. We're rescuing sex trafficked kids in different third world countries. I'm taking my instructors out there to get their hearts broken so that they could come back and see like their blessing here in America and teach with that passion. Because when you feed kids that are eating out of the garbage dumps in a third world country with gray hair, malnourished, and no parents around, you can't come back here and look at kids the same way. And I wanted their heart to beat with the same heartbeat that I had. So all of that's going on behind the scenes. Meanwhile, I'm broke and dying on the inside because I can't financially support what I want to do and the goals and dreams that I have. And so we would eventually build up to around the 13.5 region as Dominion. But then after a while, man, the flame starts to go out. And we found ourselves in 2016 at $5,300. I had to take on a second job in order to make ends meet. And I was at the end, man. I mean, I had been up and down many times. This time I didn't know how I was going to get back up. And it was in August of 2016. I hit my knees. I yelled at God. and I didn't understand. I was bawling in my living room in the middle of the night, and I just couldn't hold on anymore. And I'm not saying hold on. I have a deep reverence and belief for God, and I understand why everything happened now. But I couldn't hold on to the direction that I was going. I had no more strength. The vision I have is like holding on to someone's hand. I just couldn't hold on anymore. I didn't know what to do. And I fell into a real deep depression at that time. We still had a lot of students and all that good stuff, but there was no flame left anymore in David Chacon, that's for sure. And my wife had convinced me to go to the Super Show in Las Vegas. We had already gone before that, but again, it wasn't enough. In that June, we had gone. By August, I just had nothing left. I sat in the back of the room at the Super Show. She took all the notes. And bottom line, long story short, she convinced me we should sign up. We called Mike Metzger. We couldn't afford to do it. He found a way to make it happen, get us off our feet. And our very first month with Maya, and again, it goes back to the business, because you got to understand that now that I understood that money, the love of money, was the root of all evil. I didn't love money, but I needed money to accomplish my goals and dreams, and not being able to support my family. I got to make some money. And I've got this gem of a business where I get to pour all of my gifts and talents in. I get to do everything that I want to do. And I get to work with my wife. I get to work with my kids. I have everything that I wanted except the financial means to support my family, which no man wants to feel that. The very first month with Maya, we made a little over $17,000. We had never even seen anything close to that before. And I was shell shocked, but I was still broken. I was still broken. The second month in Maya, we made $35,000. And here we go. Now the money's coming in. And then the next year, our business grew 375%. The next year, it grew 40%. But at the end of the day, I was still a broken being that had to piece myself back together. And I would be lying to everybody right now if I told you that I'm still in that process, man. Like when I had nothing to hold on anymore, that was a tough time for me. And so I am still piecing myself together. And I just got to say that everything that I had prayed for, everything that I ever wanted when I came into this business, I have it. And I'm just so grateful for it. February was an all-time record-breaking month for us. The biggest month we have ever had in February that we just came off of. Just over $86,000. Coming from a school that had 5,300 broken in my living room, to having a full-time staff that's very well taken care of, and having all the dreams that I had once dreamed for come to pass, and not having the love of money as not one part of it, but really utilizing that with the direction that you guys give. Man, has my life been flipped upside down, and I'm just so grateful.
That's super awesome. And Dane Evans is watching, and as he's listening to your story along the way, he said, "Dang, sounds like my wife and my life and my wife. We started over 2 or 3 times during our years. Kudos to you for never giving up." And that's something I think that we also get, not just something that we were taught, but something that we get from the martial arts, is learning how to never give up and keep reaching. And Dane, I look forward to featuring you coming up on the show. And David, you'll get to meet him. Dane's a great guy.
Yeah.
Um, we have learned, any of us that have failed so badly before, it's almost that fear of failure is always there, no matter how successful we get, whether it's money, students, business is great, whatever. That, like you said, putting yourself back together, that fear is always in the back of your mind, because you
Always.
know what it's like. You know what it's like to go back to that point. Um, but you can also appreciate it. And you've also been to the top where you've had everything you could have. And I mean, at the end of the day, there's so many different feelings that we could talk about, as a mentor. And I want to share this person's comment as well. David Starachi says, "I don't know Mr. Chacon, but I hope to meet him someday. Thank you for sharing." Mr. Starachi, you'll be on the show very soon, and who knows, we may even have to have Mr. Chacon come out and visit our school when things settle down a little bit. If you're out here in California, you got to stop by. But yeah, it goes back to, people that have experienced great success and understand great failure. That feeling never really goes away. That
Now,
feeling really never goes away, especially with a family. And I want to just kind of dive into that, and we'll wrap up talking about your family, because it's a huge motivator for you, as I know it is for me and for many men. It's our job to be the protector and the provider, right? And when we're not able to do those things emotionally or financially, we feel broken. So talk about your family a little bit. Talk about your kids, your wife, just so everybody kind of gets to know you in that
Sure.
respect as
So,
well.
one of the comments was, that I held on and kept going. I would not have been able to if it wasn't for my wife, man. And I get teary up right now. You know, my wife is my backbone. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. So I have to give credit to my wife for just being amazing for me. And so yeah, I want to say that the family lifestyle. In the beginning, I wanted a business that I could build together, be on the mats, mentor my kids, coach, have them see daddy lead and stuff. I got to the point where I was really missing baseball games, piano practices, and things like that. And so when we joined Maya, they asked me, "What do you want?" I said, "Well, I want to be able to work on the business. I don't want to have to be in the school. I want to be able to have the lifestyle with my family that's in this next season of my life, and I don't want to." I don't want to miss my kids stuff. I don't want to be gone every night. I want to pray with them. I want to put them to bed. I want to hold them, things that I didn't have growing up. Like I want to do for my kids. So it took 18 months with Maya from 2017, but middle of 2018, I was able to step out of the school. And it's been since then that my wife and I do not have to be in the school. We work with our team and build our team in different ways. And we're just forever grateful for the direction. But the lifestyle that we have right now is a complete blessing. And now I just have to protect it. I got to protect my team and I got to protect everything that offers that to us. But we have an amazingly beautiful lifestyle. And this has been the most stable for the longest period of time that I've ever had in my entire life. And it's 100% for the systems and procedures and the mentorship that you guys provide, man. It's changed our lives and has given me everything that I could have ever asked for.
Well, and it's you talk about the missing baseball games or missing things and how you're not in your school. For those of you still watching, those of you that will watch later, we have such a passion for teaching martial arts, and we have, I mean, listen, there's nothing like being on the mat teaching class and having that, attention and excitement. For me, it's kind of like being in the ring. Anytime you're in the ring, you have this light on you that just brings out all that extra energy. And so people kind of wonder, well, why do you step out of that light? And you brought it up because you have an amazing team. And so people don't understand how important that is. In order for us to allow other people to shine, we have to take ourselves out of that light to make people shine, right? Because in my school, I probably teach a couple days a week, a couple classes, and I know that my students would probably love to have me teach more. But if I did, I couldn't provide for my team the same way. I couldn't give them the opportunity to grow and to maybe, who knows, be in the position that I'm in. But I remember one of the reasons, like you said, the reason that I wanted to do that is for my team, but also for my family. My son played baseball. My daughter danced. My wife is involved in a lot of activities, and I wanted to be there for that stuff. And so, to be able to have that opportunity is just truly amazing that your school can provide you with that. How old are your kids now?
11 and 8. And what's
Yeah.
funny, what's funny is that my vision board, that we had coming into Maya, it was like I had vision board of just being able to afford to put my kids in sports. I didn't even care to be there at the time. I just wanted to be able to afford. So I had pictures of my son playing baseball, my daughter playing softball, playing a sport, going to Disney, just these little things, and little did I know that not only would we knock that out pretty quick, but the next thing would be is like, well, darn it, now they're able to do all these things. I want to be a part of that,
Right.
And so yeah, it's been a great ride, man. I'm just blown away and overwhelmed, especially coming out of February the way that our team did. My God, man, is it keeping us on our toes, but helping us dream bigger than ever in order to help them accomplish their dreams too. It's just so awesome. And it's tied in with the purpose, man, helping people truly discover their potential, their gift, talent, sharpen it up, and deploying them. That's not just for the students, it's first and foremost for our staff. And the fact that I get to spend all of my time working on that for them instead of having to be in the business, it's a twofold thing because I've just seen them skyrocket too, you know? So,
Absolutely. And the whole cycle continues because now they're able to make the school grow and give those younger instructors, assistant instructors, leadership team members the chance to come up. I mean, it's all, when you step out, it's all a method to the madness of bringing more people up to your
yep,
level versus keeping yourself in that limelight.
yep,
As we wrap up here and we approach the almost 1 hour mark today, um, I want you just to speak to everybody that's watching now, that will watch later, and just from your heart, talk about how you can motivate them, or what advice would you give them to motivate themselves to either get to that next level, overcome something that they're facing now,
sure.
and just keep fighting forward.
Yes, sir. So the first thing that I would tell every single person is that you were born on purpose, that you were born with a purpose, and that every single one of you, you're gifted and talented to do something in a way that nobody else can do. And you have to believe that. There's that believe word again. If you can get that inside of you and believe that there is no one else out there with a thumbprint like you, and you were created to do something in a way that nobody else can do it, you have to have a mentor to help you discover what those gifts are, because we have been scarred. Some of us might say we are damaged. I don't really like that word. I'd rather use scarred. But regardless, we've all gone through stuff that can really, really diminish some of the gifts that we have. And what I like to encourage you is that if you don't have faith in yourself, or you don't believe in yourself enough, hold on to somebody that has enough belief for you until you can believe in yourself, because they're out there. Grab onto their shirt, grab onto their collar, whatever you've got to do, and let them pull you forward until you can stand on your own 2 feet, because there is somebody out there that believes in you. You've got to find them. The next thing I want to encourage you is with this, is that once you discover that, you can never give up on developing and sharpening those gifts and talents. And the biggest mistake that I've ever made was getting advice from the wrong people. And even though they had my best interest at heart, they were the wrong people. If you want to be successful in marriage, get advice from somebody that has a successful marriage before you say I do. If you already said I do, it's not too late, but the same concept is there. If you have a martial arts school that's not doing well, find somebody that has a very successful martial arts school that will teach you how to do that specifically. You have to be specific when it comes to the mentorship that you go after for the specific area that you have. I can't stress that enough. Anytime I'm given a platform to speak, I always remind people that be specific and go after whatever it is that you want, but be very targeted in that specific area, because you will spend years of hurt and turmoil getting the wrong advice from the wrong people. And that shifted. Trust me, I fought hard with the business knowledge that I had, getting advice in my martial arts school for many, many years. But I never thought for 1 second to go and find somebody that was successful in the martial arts industry, that had accomplished the dreams that I had, not someone else's dreams, that had accomplished my dreams, and then have them help me with that. So I just want to leave you with that. Never forget that you were born on purpose, with a purpose, gifted and talented to do something in a way that nobody else can do, that you are first and not last. Don't ever forget that. You are first and not last. Keep pushing forward. And if you don't have enough power to stand on your feet, hold on to somebody that'll hold you up until you can.
I got goosebumps. I mean, that is so powerful, and 100% this I mean, I loved sharing your story, but just this last 3 to 4 minutes, if I could bottle that and make sure that I share that with everybody, I think that was just, it was so powerful. So thank you to everybody that is watching. Drop a quick comment and say thank you to David Chacon. I want to thank you for being on the show. Just as I wrap up, again, I chose you for a reason. And everything you have said throughout this entire interview is exactly why. But more importantly, just that ending. If everybody could listen to that over and over, I think that we'd have some very powerful thinkers and some powerful leaders that will make our world just such a better place. I truly appreciate you as a person, as a martial artist, as a businessman, as a family man. Um, I just can't say thank you enough. Really appreciate you being on the show and sharing and being vulnerable. Letting us know about your failures and how you overcome those. And I like that we're not damaged, we're scarred, and those scars are what make us just a little bit stronger, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My wife actually showed me an image of a lion that was scarred, and I wish I knew the quote, but it said, "Damaged people are dangerous because they know what they've been, or they know what they've gone through," or something like that. And she's like, "I don't like the word damaged," and I said, "I like scarred." Because scarred is kind of ba. It kind of makes you look cool. You got to have a couple scars, man. So I thank you, so much for creating a platform for so many, but specifically for me, man. Like anytime I get the opportunity to share my passion for people and things that, for every hell that I've gone through and everything bad that has happened to me, I've always been able to somehow, some way, it got turned around for good. And until I'm given the opportunity to do that, that's another thing for everybody. There's not one thing that has happened to you that can't be turned around and used for good for somebody in some way, shape, or form. The worst of the worst things. But until you've been given the platform and the opportunity to do that, it kills you on the inside. But the second that you can rescue someone from the things that have scarred you, I was going to say damaged, the things that have scarred you so much, until you can do that, it won't make sense. When you are hurting, reach out and help someone that's hurting, and just watch how that's going to change you and lift you off your feet. I told you I'm piecing myself back together. How the heck am I able to do this right now? That's what I'm talking about. This is therapy for me. So I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do that. I will be stronger now than I was coming into this because of a platform that you've created. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. You're welcome, and thank you. Just amazing story to share with everybody. Amazing words of advice, encouragement, motivation, and inspiration. So thank you. And I just want to let everybody know as we close out the show, we got a couple more great guests, guys, coming up. Today is interview number 9 out of 52 scheduled interviews that I have for this year. Coming up next, I have Mr. Daniel Groff, a great friend of mine and one of our city councilmen, owner of Insurance Brokers West, but he's got some great stories of, once again, taking a failure situations and proving his success. We also have Joel Mancuso, Mr. Mike Chat, and Frank Silverman will also be one of our guests this month. And my special guest that I was able to schedule, and I'm super excited, Ernie Reyes Jr. is going to share his story with us as well. So guys, hey, stay tuned. Check in with me each and every week on Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you don't see it here live, it'll be up on our YouTube channel. You could check that bottom. It'll tell you where to find us on YouTube. We're on Instagram. Drop us a comment. Keep in touch. I want to wish everybody an awesome, excellent week. Go out and get it. And thank you, Mr. Chacon.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.